Tarkir Dragonstorm has gotten a lot of hype approaching its release, and for good reason. It feels like we're finally going into an in-universe set that takes itself seriously with world building and story, and just the aesthetic. I mean, it feels like we're going back to original Tarkir, and it's just really exciting. I'm just excited. I can make a whole video gushing over all the awesome things about Tarkir Dragonstorm, but I'm sure you've seen all your favorite creators talk about it anyways. So now that we're in pre-release weekend and we've seen every spoiler, I'm bringing you 6 commanders out of Tarkir Dragonstorm that you should consider building. Whether they're extremely powerful or just a unique spin on their color identity, these 6 really caught my attention, so I wanted to share them with you. First up, out of Jeskai, we've got Elsha Threefold Master. Elsha costs Jeskai for a 1/1 Jinn Monk with Trample and Prowess. She also reads, whenever Elsha deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 white monk creature tokens with Prowess. I like Elsha for a few reasons. She kind of reminds me of my Shroofus deck that I have, where Shroofus is just a 3-drop 1/1 trample that says when it hits someone, or whenever a sapperling hits someone, you get a 1/1 sapperling, right? With her, it's a 3-drop 1/1 trample, so you don't need to find trample, you don't need to put trample in your deck. And the way that I built Shroofus was kind of like combat tricks, and I think that Elsha kind of incentivizes that game plan, right? Because it's like, if you go Voltron with equipment here, that's fine, and Jeskai is a very good color scheme for equipment, then you're losing out a little bit on the prowess triggers, which is a lot of your value and a lot of your damage is from your 1/1 tokens that you're making, right? If you go the combat trick route, she'll get all of the extra damage. She already has trample, so all you have to do is focus on getting damage through, right? You're getting all these 1/1s, and then on the next turn, you're swinging again, probably casting a few more combat tricks, right? And for every combat trick you cast, or cantrip, or whatever it is, you're buffing all of your tokens +1/+1. I mean, that's just awesome. I think that Elsha is just a really cool Jeskai commander that lets you play like an aggro combat trick strategy, and I'm just a fan of that. Shroofus is extremely aggro. Elsha is kind of like more tuned down, but you also have access to more options. It's kind of better in a way for casual commander pods, right? So if you like Jeskai, you like combat tricks, you like Voltron, definitely consider Elsha. Okay, next up we've got Kotis the Fang Keeper in Sultai. Kotis costs Sultai and 1 for a 2/1 indestructible zombie warrior. Whenever Kotis deals combat damage to a player, you exile the top X cards of their library, where X is the amount of damage you dealt, and then you can cast any number of spells with mana value X or less from them without paying their mana costs. This, I think, is really cool. So kind of like how Elsha incentivizes straying away from the equipment or a Voltron strategy, Kotis is another sort of Voltron commander, but he incentivizes you not to kill people with the commander damage that you're dealing with him, right? Because if you swing in for 21 unblockable commander damage with Kotis, you're like, oh yeah, dude, 21x, but then they die. You know what I mean? They die immediately. You don't get all the free spells that you would have stolen from them. So it's sort of like a balance between, I want to deal a bunch of extra damage and I want my commander to be unblockable or, trample or whatever. I want to hit through with my commander damage, but I don't want to kill my opponent with that. I want to use my commander damage to steal as much as possible, right? Which is awesome. Sultai is no stranger to theft effects. This is basically like a villainous wealth on a stick, which is really cool, like tied to your commander damage. So if you like Voltron and you like theft, this is an amazing combination of those two things. Moving away from Voltron, we're in Abzan now with Felithar the Steadfast. Felithar costs Abzan and 1 for a 0/5. Each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Creatures you control can attack as though they didn't have Defender, and you can pay 3 mana and tap and sack another creature to draw cards equal to their toughness, but discard cards equal to their power. Right off the bat, this is just a extremely power-crept version of Doran, right? It just has the same exact text that Doran has, except it also makes your defenders attack, and it lets you draw cards. It costs 1 extra mana, which is true, and you don't get that tree folk tribal part of Doran, right? But this is just basically strictly an upgrade. You can kind of think of Felithar as an Abzan version of Arcades, right? So Arcades, you've got green and white and blue, and Arcades, you instead swap out the blue for black. For Felithar, you swap out the blue for black. And they both are creatures that make your defenders attack, assign combat damage equal to their toughness, and give you card draw. But I think the Felithar card draw is much more explosive. You have to pay 3 mana for it, sure, But I mean, you're playing Felithar with a defender deck, right? So it's going to be like pay 3, tap Felithar, sacrifice a 0/5 or a 0/6 or something, which is extremely easy to have. And then you're drawing 6 cards, or let's say it's a 1/5. You're drawing 5 cards and discarding 1. Versus with Arcades, when you play a defender creature, right? You're playing a 2-drop 0/4 or something. You draw a card. I've played Arcades. I had an Arcades deck. Sort of a problem that I would run into with Arcades sometimes, which it wouldn't happen all the time, but it did happen, which is you would play a creature with Defender and it would cantrip itself, and eventually you would just fill your hand with lands. You know what I mean? Every time you cantrip your defenders and you don't draw another defender, you're kind of stopping your chain. You know, you're stopping the loop. But with Felithar, it's every turn you're probably drawing at least 4 cards, probably a lot more, right? I think Felithar is probably better than Arcades in that way, but of course there's a color difference there too. So if you like defenders, if you like Doran, you know, if you're an old head who likes Doran, maybe you'll keep playing Doran because he's just awesome. But if you want something more powerful, Felithar just rules, you know? Speaking of power creep, we're moving on to Zurgo Stormrender in Mardu. For just Mardu, so 3 mana, you get a 3/3 Orc Warrior with Mobilize 1, which is the new mechanic. Whenever this creature attacks, you create a tapped and attacking 1/1 red warrior creature token that you sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. And, most importantly, whenever a creature token you control leaves the battlefield, you draw a card if it was attacking, otherwise each opponent loses 1 life. Zurgo kind of feels to me like the Jetmir of Mardu, where it's just a bunch of the like red and white, you know, the Boros token generation. You just create a ton of little dudes and you play Zurgo and you're probably winning that turn. Don't be confused, he's not going to be dealing 1 damage a turn or drawing you 1 card a turn. It's probably more likely that you'll have 10 1/1s, you'll swing them, and then opponents will be like, okay, do I take, you know, I'm probably not going to block any of these because for every single token I block and kill, the Zurgo player draws a card, which is terrifying. Basically, card draw with no downside in Mardu. I mean, of course, you're gonna put Impact Tremors in this deck. Creature enters, pings everyone for 1. But then, if Zurgo turns any sacrifice outlet, anything, into another, like, Impact Tremors, essentially. So you're putting in Impact Tremors, you're putting in Perforos, you're putting in Throne of the God Pharaoh, right? And you're swinging in with 10 dudes, then Throne of the God Pharaoh triggers on end step. They're all taking another 10 damage or something, right? And then you sacrifice all of them. So then that's another 10 damage to everyone's face. And I mean, it's just, this guy's gonna get out of hand real quick. And you can also turn all of your sacrifice outlets into card draw, which is crazy. You just swing with your tokens. And then you're like, how many cards do I want to draw? Well, let me draw 1. Sacrifice, draw a card. Nah, let me draw another one. Sacrifice, draw a card. And, of course, you can wait until the damage step to... Can you do that? I believe you might also be able to wait until after the damage step is done and then sacrifice them to draw cards. I could be wrong about that, so check me in the comments, you know, let me know. But I'm pretty sure, you know, you swing in, you can deal all the damage, and then sacrifice whatever you want to draw a bunch of cards, which is bonkers. Even if it doesn't work that way, crazy power creep commander for 3 mana. If you like Mardu, you're gonna like Zurgo. If you like tokens, you're gonna like Zurgo. Back in Sultai, at number 2, we've got Taval, Arbiter of Virtue. He costs Sultai and 2 for a 6/6 flying lifelink, which is already a great rate, 6/6 flying lifelink for 5 mana. But spells you cast have Delve, which means you can exile cards from your graveyard while casting that spell to pay for 1 generic mana. And whenever you cast a spell, you lose life equal to its mana value. Delve has been one of the most broken effects ever made in Magic. Easily like one of the strongest keywords ever made, like up there, not completely up there with Storm, but it is kind of like in the same wheelhouse of just like power creep. Spells you cast have Delve, right? So you're just filling your graveyard up, which is what Sultai does best, right? You're just dumping cards into your graveyard, and no matter what you want to cost, especially if it's artifacts, because then they're free, you just exile some random stuff, you exile some lands, some sorceries or whatever that you don't need in your grave to play them. I've seen gameplay of like a Taval deck dropping 4 cards from their grave just exiling Left Elf to play a 1 ring, which is crazy. You're just a free 1 ring? Yeah, whatever, it's just a free 1 ring, dude. You lose 4 life. Oh, who cares? It's the 1 ring. Much like Valgavoth out of Duskmourn, if you pair this with an Aetherflux Reservoir, then you're really storming off. You're just casting your spells, exiling stuff from your grave, casting them for like 1-2 mana or whatever. You're losing life at first, of course, but then you're gaining more life than you're losing until you've cast a million crazy things on board, and you probably shoot 2 opponents for 50 and kill the other one with some wacky combo. This is one of those cards that just by looking at it, you know it's broken, but it's kind of interesting to see how the community will come up with like the way to break this. You know what I mean? I think Aetherflux Reservoir is a really good start. There's probably some crazy Taval combo though. You know what I mean? Like Taval, even if there isn't, playing all your spells for 1 mana, turns out that's probably pretty awesome. And the other Taval out of Tarkir Dragonstorm is also crazy, also cracked. Whenever a card leaves your graveyard, you get a 2/2. I didn't include it on this list because I was like, oh my god, I can't include 3 Sultai cards on my list of 6 commanders. Just really awesome dragons. These are some crazy cool cards. And if you like storming off, you like going crazy, you like having wacky combo turns, it's Taval. You know what I mean? In Sultai, it's Taval. At number 1, back in Jeskai, we have Narset, Jeskai, Waymaster. Narset costs Jeskai, so 1 blue, red, and white for a 3/4. At the beginning of your end step, you may discard your hand, and if you do, you draw cards equal to the number of spells you cast this turn. Narset is bonkers. As a 3-mana commander, just right off the bat, you can get Narset out early, and then if you aren't even trying to break the commander, if you're just playing Narset as your commander in Jeskai colors and you're just doing some random Jeskai thing, it's still really good because it's just like you can either play Narset early and then play a bunch of little things or whatever, and Narset will just fill your hand back up, right? You play Narset 1-drop tribal or something, and you're just like, oh yeah, you know, I just play Narset and then I dump my hand and then I discard and I draw all those cards again, right? Or you can play Narset in the later game, right? You're about to have like some stormy turn and you use Narset sort of as like a counterweight commander to do your stormy turn, not worry about card draw or anything like that. You're just worried about doing the thing that your combo is trying to do, and then you save up 3 mana and you play Narset out of the command zone, move to end step, and you dump all the random garbage that you have left in your hand to draw cards equal to whatever you stormed off to. And then if you're trying to break Narset, I feel like it's probably pretty easy. You just go for like Laboratory Maniac, one of those like weird circumstances where Laboratory Maniac might be better than Thassa's Oracle, because you just play a bunch of cards, play a bunch of cantrips, a bunch of 0-drops, you wheel, get a new hand, play a bunch of 0-drops, wheel, get a new hand, play your Laboratory Maniac, right, or something like this. This is just as a theory, right? And then you move to end step with Narset, you discard your hand, and then you win the game. You know what I mean? You just win on end step because you discard your hand, you go to draw 100 cards, and then maybe somebody shoots your Laboratory Maniac. Okay, maybe you're that's a little scary. But they have to respond to the Narset trigger on end step, right? So it's not like they have a window where you have no cards in hand. You just save up a counterspell or something, right? You save up a couple counterspells. Even the free ones, like the free one that makes you, Pact of Negation, lose the game on the next upkeep, doesn't matter because you're gonna be winning. You go Narset trigger on the stack. I'm gonna discard these 5 counterspells to draw 30 cards. Does anybody have a response? And then it doesn't matter because you're in Jeskai. You have the counterspells. This is just a really good option for if you are trying like a storm strategy that's lacking a little bit of card draw, or you're digging really, really aggressively for specific combo pieces, right? It's like, oh, I'm playing Narset and I'm digging for Aetherflux. I'm digging for Geralf the Fleshright or something. You know what I mean? Just a really cool commander, and just something that you can play super early in the game and probably snowballs pretty insanely as the game goes on. I realize I didn't cover any teamer commanders in this video. There are cool ones, just they didn't really catch my attention as much as these ones did. If there are some commanders that I missed, some commanders that you are interested in Tarkir Dragonstorm, let me know in the comments below. I've got a couple more videos in the works right now, like the one about tuning your deck to a specific bracket level, so don't worry, that video is coming. And then we're also going to be making a Manadorks video, so look out for that too, which is going to be really cool. But yeah, while Tarkir Dragonstorm is still kind of relevant, you know what I mean, before Final Fantasy comes and takes it over, I just wanted to point these legendaries out. I think these cards are just really cool, and I think this set just deserves some love. You know, it deserves a video. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please leave a like, you know, consider subscribing. Thanks, y'all. I'll see you next time.